This is your AEW Dynamite review, post All Out edition. It is Wednesday, September 11, 2024. I am the Solomonster. You know, Bryan Danielson has made quite a few enemies in the last few weeks. He was excommunicated from the Blackpool Combat Club this past weekend. He had a plastic bag placed around his head. He was suffocated nearly to death on Saturday. Now, we had a World Championship match coming up at Grand Slam in a few weeks at Arthur Ashe Stadium. That is no more. They shot an angle tonight to change the match. We actually have two matches out of it now. But Bryan Danielson not only has enemies in Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club, but he has a long-term enemy in one Nigel McGuinness. And for well over a year now, Nigel McGuinness here in AEW has taken every opportunity that he has been given to bash this man, insult him, mock him. He's called him Brittle Brian. He's called him the Neckbreak Kid. Every opportunity he gets, he trashes this man. And this was a match that I thought we might get at Wembley Stadium last year. Brian got hurt. Then I thought maybe we would get it this year. And instead, Tony Khan decided to go a different direction, and he put the AEW World Heavyweight title on Bryan Danielson instead. And we got Nigel McGuinness back in the ring for the first time since 2011. We saw him in the Casino Gauntlet match, and he looked great. He looked like he could have another, short run if he wants to get back in the ring and have an actual run here in AEW. But Bryan's career is coming to an end as far as him being a full-time performer, and it didn't look like we were going to get this match. A match that Nigel McGuinness has wanted for so long. It was the entire reason that he wanted to come back in the first place, was to get in the ring with Bryan Danielson. Well, tonight it was made official that on September 25th at Grand Slam, AEW Dynamite, it will now be Bryan Danielson, the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, not for the title, but Bryan Danielson one-on-one with Nigel McGuinness. Tony Khan made the announcement official. They put the graphic up for it. That match will take place. This will be the first meeting between these two men since their last match together in Ring of Honor in September of 2009. And in fact, the date of the Grand Slam show will be 1 day shy of the 15-year anniversary of the match that they had at the Manhattan Center in ROH, which was meant to be their swan song. They were leaving. Both men were leaving at the same time, and they were both going to WWE. That was the plan. Bryan Danielson did go to WWE, and he had a struggle. He had to climb his way up that mountain. He had to deal with a lot of crap because he wasn't the prototypical WWE star. But he made himself a star. He got over. He became World Heavyweight Champion. He headlined WrestleMania. He did things that he was never supposed to do, in spite of everything. Nigel McGuinness was supposed to go to WWE as well. He was a little too honest for his own good, and he confided in WWE during the process that all wrestlers go through to get their medicals taken care of, that he had some pre-existing injuries, and namely, I think it was some earlier bicep tears that he did not have fixed because he couldn't afford to. WWE wouldn't give him a contract unless he went and got his injuries taken care of. He couldn't afford to do it. You know, these days, maybe WWE would pay for it, but back then they didn't. And that was it. They rescinded the offer. He never signed a contract. And instead, he ended up in TNA. That's where he had the Desmond Wolfe run. And then he had the issue where he contracted hepatitis, took himself out of the ring. Eventually, he recovered from that, but that was it. That was the end of his in-ring career. So, two very different paths in this business. And Nigel touched on that in the ring during his promo tonight, that was supposed to be him. He and Bryan both, they were supposed to go to the big time. They were both supposed to become big stars. Bryan did, Nigel did not. He has resented him for it ever since. That is the whole essence of this on-screen feud, this rivalry, this hatred, this resentment that McGuinness has for him. That's the story there. So now we're going to get them back in the ring for the first time in a very long time. But what that means is that there will be no AEW World Championship match on that show. Instead, we had Darby Allin and Jon Moxley face-to-face tonight, and Jon Moxley said, look, The champion, after what happened this past weekend, is indisposed. There will be no AEW World Championship match on that show, even though you won the right to challenge for the title. But I want that shot instead, so why don't you give it to me? And what ended up happening is they made a match official for Grand Slam where it will now be Jon Moxley one-on-one with Darby Allin for Darby's shot at the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, which he's under no obligation to put on the line. It would be the equivalent of a Money in the Bank holder saying, okay, I'll put my briefcase on the line. But, Darby, he's not all there. He doesn't care. So he agreed. So now we're getting two big matches on that show, that being the other one. But there's a logic gap here. And the logic, it's glaring. It's a glaring logic gap. And they tried to kind of sort of explain it away, but it's still fucking stupid. That don't get it twisted. I'm very happy. I'm very excited that we're going to get Bryan one-on-one with Nigel. I'm very much looking forward to that match. That's great. I was actually hoping maybe they would do it at All Out. Instead of Jack Perry, we'd get Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness. So instead, they're going to do it at Grand Slam. That's great. But you had a segment earlier in the show where Jon Moxley said, look, the champion is out of commission right now. He's indisposed. There will be no championship match. How about you put your shot on the line against me? That's how we got Mox and Darby. But yet later on in the same show, Tony Khan gives the okay for Nigel McGuinness to get in the ring with the champion who is currently indisposed after nearly being murdered at All Out on Saturday night. So how do we go from Tony Khan approving of this match change? Okay, I guess we're not going to have a world championship match on my show, but I'm cool. If Mox and Darby want to throw down for the title shot, that's cool. And an hour later, he's okaying a match between his champion and Nigel McGuinness. It's stupid. The way they went about doing it just seemed very haphazard. Now, they did have Excalibur on commentary try to explain this by, explaining that, well, if Bryan is cleared. If Bryan Danielson is cleared, then the match will happen. The graphic was up on the screen. They're not announcing the match, clearly, unless the match is going to happen. We know this. We already know this. So it was very weird, and it is very dumb, no matter how hard they may try to explain it. The question is, why did they make this change? Was this change planned from day one, or was this a change that Tony Khan came to in the last week or two? I think it's one of two things, or maybe a combination of both. I think it's a situation where they realize that Bryan perhaps is going to drop the title at Wrestle Dream. Wrestle Dream is coming up in Tacoma, Washington on October 12th. I'm sure Bryan is going to defend the title on that show, probably against the winner of Moxley and Darby, if not both of them. Maybe it ends up being a three-way. But that is very likely that Bryan Danielson is not going to make it out of that show as the AEW World Heavyweight Champion. When the moment he won the title from Swerve at Wembley, I never felt as if we were getting a long title run. I didn't think Bryan was going to win it and hold it for 6 months or for a year. This is a short-term thing. And I could very easily see him dropping the belt in Tacoma next month. And that's the end of his full-time run. If that's the case, then it's a race against the clock, because even though Bryan Danielson is not retiring full-time, it's not like that will be his last match ever. Him saying that when he loses the title, that will be his last match, as far as a full-time performer, that tells me we're not going to see Bryan Danielson back in the ring for a hot minute. It's going to be a while. And either we'll get the Nigel McGuinness match potentially much later on, or we'll never get it at all. So they may have looked at it and said, well, you know what? It's now or never. Tony Khan probably wanted to see the match. Nigel wants the match. I'm sure Bryan wanted the match. If we're going to do it, now's the time to do it. So if we have to reconfigure a few things to make this work, then let's make it work. Or did Tony Khan look at the poor ticket sales for Grand Slam, which is only a couple of weeks away? They're going to be at Arthur Ashe Stadium. I think this is the fourth year in a row, I think. Did he look at that and say, I need to do something to try to shake things up here and spice the show up, to try to drum up ticket sales? The last update that I saw was less than a week ago. It was late last week. WrestleTix had an update. 3,700 tickets. As of the end of last week, 3,700. Maybe by now it's up to 4,000, but 3,700 tickets out for Grand Slam. When they ran their first Grand Slam show 3 years ago, they put 20,000 people in that building. Second show they did, I think they had like 13,000. Now they're down to 3,700, and we are a couple of weeks away. Now, one thing that AEW was very good at is getting people to buy tickets late. They get good walk-up business, and I'm sure that number will be a bit higher than 3,700. They won't have 3,700 on the day of. But to be at 3,700 right now, I mean, there's no positive way to spin that. I mean, you talk about a steep drop, that's a steep drop. And they're only set up for about 5,000. So he's looking at this card and saying, what can I do to try to get people excited to buy tickets and come to the show? Mox and Darby is a big match. It's not a title match, but it's a big match. Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness is an attraction. And I do think for their audience, they likely will be excited and want to see that match. And it's the New York market, which, again, the last match they had was in New York. It was at the Manhattan Center. There's a lot of Ring of Honor fans. A lot of people that will be in the building that night were likely at the Manhattan Center the last time Danielson and McGuinness had a match. So I do think that will help them sell some tickets. So we'll see if it's smart and if it's an effective strategy. I think it's a combination of both. I think both of those things can be true. I think Danielson's run really could be coming to an end in October. And I also think Tony Khan wants to sell fucking tickets because he's had a real rough go of it moving tickets for that show. And that's why I think we ended up in the spot that we now find ourselves in. But again, it's still silly just from a storyline logic perspective to do what they did tonight, where you basically just upend this card and this championship match, and then you end up booking the champion for the show, even if it's a non-title match. You book the champion for the show. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but you know what? I'm glad we're getting Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness, and I hope that the atmosphere could be something along the lines of what it was for Danielson and Kenny Omega, that match they had on that first Grand Slam. It was such a great match. Yeah, they had that 30-minute match. But again, they had 20,000 people in the building that night. So no matter how great the atmosphere will end up being, it won't be quite the same. But I am happy we're at least getting the match. The other big match on the show tonight, or the other big item on the show tonight, they held the first ever Tag Team Casino Gauntlet match on AEW television. This was easily the weakest of the 4 Casino Gauntlet matches they have done so far. That's 4 in the last 5 months. So you talk about taking a new concept and driving it into the fucking ground. They are well on their way to doing that. I mean, we had the first one, I want to say it was the end of April. We had another one on television maybe in June. We had the one at Wembley, which I think was the best one so far. And then we had the one tonight, which was easily the weakest of all of them. And it's not even a regular tag team that is going to be challenging the Young Bucks at Grand Slam for the AEW World Tag Team titles. It will be the team of Will Osprey and Kyle Fletcher, the 2 friends. They are going after the Young Bucks and the AEW World Tag Team titles in 2 weeks. And it's clear to me that they're shooting an angle here involving the Callus family. So it's not, even though they're not a regular tag team, they are friends, right? They've established the friendship between Osprey and Fletcher on television already. And we know that Osprey asked to be let out of his contract early with the Callus family. Don Callus let him out. But he owed him a favor. This was that favor. Callus cashed in on that favor. Osprey agreed to be in the gauntlet. They won. What's going to go down now at Grand Slam? We're not going to have new tag team champions, but I do think there's a storyline reason why we're getting this match. And as far as the angle that they will likely shoot when they lose that match on that show. The real story of that gauntlet match, though, was the Outrunners. The Outrunners. And there's probably people who are like, what? The what? If you don't watch Collision and you don't watch Rampage, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But there's a little team called the Outrunners, and they were super fucking over in this match, more over than any other tag team. I mean, FTR got a good pop when they came out. Osprey obviously is very over. But the Outrunners come out, and I mean, you would think it was a top tag team coming out to the ring. People were going crazy for these guys. So they could have had the Outrunners go over. I mean, obviously, it's a very silly, over-the-top gimmick that they're doing. I mean, they're a tag team straight out of the fucking 1980s. I think it's entertaining, but they did not pick up the win. But I was not expecting them to come out and get the kind of reaction that they got on the show, which should be a sign to Tony Khan that he should do more with them, meaning we should get to see them on Dynamite more often. They're on the other shows. Clearly, they've been getting over. Slowly but surely, they've been getting over on Rampage and Collision, because to come out and get the reaction they got tonight was very unexpected. At least for me, it was very unexpected. We're going to talk about this entire show, which was a mixed bag. I thought it was a solid show overall. Not a great show, but it was a strong show in terms of setting up the card for Grand Slam. Clearly, one thing that is very clear coming out of this show, Tony Khan is doing the best he can in his mind to try to load that show up on September 25th and move as many tickets as possible between now and then to try to beef up the attendance for that show. Whatever the attendance ends up being, it will easily be the lowest attendance they've had so far for an Arthur Ashe show. It just keeps going down and down and down. But that's why he's doing what he's doing. This is your AEW Dynamite review. Again, it is September 11th, 2024. I am the Solomonster. Thank you for choosing me for your Dynamite coverage here tonight. I will try to get you in and out as quickly as possible here. Like and subscribe for notifications. And again, your messages, you will see them as they come in, if they come in, popping up here on your screen. We had an opening video package, which I actually thought was very well done. It was very well put together. It had this kind of dramatic music in the background, showing footage from All Out as Jon Moxley is explaining, and they show Moxley and the members of the Blackpool Combat Club, except for Yuta, who had stayed back in the ring to assist Bryan after he was attacked. But the footage is showing them walking back through the backstage area as Moxley is sort of narrating and talking to us and cutting a promo. And he says he didn't enjoy what he did, but he did what had to be done. And he said Bryan Danielson did not have the stomach for this any longer. 2 years ago, they made a commitment for something real. Something that would last years after they're gone. An idea that could not be destroyed, not for money, not for recognition. Mr. Patience, Mr. Empathy, the greatest man he's ever known. He said all he sees backstage is egos and jealousy when he looks around. Moxley said their mentor, obviously referring to William Regal, once referred to Danielson as the perfect wrestler. He said Danielson was always his lordship's favorite, but Regal saw himself in Moxley. Moxley said he's no hero, and he's no villain. What he is the one true king of these lands. They tried things Danielson's way. Diplomacy failed. Now he chooses war. So I like this, even though they never showed any footage of the actual attack on Danielson. And I didn't think they would show the spot with the plastic bag, the suffocation, on TV. It's like some of the stuff we saw in the Hangman and Swerve cage match is not suitable for television. I didn't think we were going to get a replay of the syringe spot, which was stupid anyway. But yeah, they did not show the plastic bag spot here. So they said Danielson was at home. He was convalescing from his injuries, so he was not on the show tonight, nor was Wheeler Yuta, who Excalibur said was with him by his side. I thought that was a little strange. I said, well, why is he at Bryan's side? I said, was he wiping his ass for him? I mean, I think Bryan's wife probably has him well taken care of. I don't know that Yuta has to be by his side, but apparently Yuta is very loyal to Bryan Danielson. So after this, they showed Darby Allin skateboarding into the parking area, entering the venue, and they pointed out on commentary that Jon Moxley, past couple of weeks, he's been looking for Darby. So tonight, We might finally get that face-to-face confrontation. After this, it was to the ring, where Tony Schiavone was standing there, and he introduced us to the Patriarchy. Christian Cage, Killswitch, Nick Wayne, and Mother Wayne all come down to the ring. Christian said the trios titles were stolen from them, but he rallied by winning the contract in the Casino Gauntlet at Wembley Stadium. He recalled Killswitch grabbing him by the throat for a chokeslam. That was just a tease. Remember, then he ended up not chokeslamming him. Christian said he looked into his eyes. He saw what he's been waiting to see. He said Killswitch is a monster and a killer, and Killswitch belongs to him. Crowd started a Luchasaurus chant. Christian said his name is Killswitch. He said he was on his way to cash in the contract at All Out, but he decided it wasn't the right time. And he said that he will beat Bryan Danielson so bad that he'll wish his wife Brie was the one with CTE, so that she wouldn't be able to comprehend what an embarrassment he was as champion. So he declared himself the next AEW World Champion, and as the Patriarchy was leaving the ring, the camera panned over to the crowd, and spotted Kip Sabian sitting in the front row, and then he walked away. So a simple promo just to remind everybody that Christian still has that contract to cash in. It's basically Money in the Bank rules. So he can cash in for a championship match whenever he's good and ready. The Kip Sabian thing, I could not care any less about. I'll just be honest with you. I assume that has something to do with setting something up with him and Nick Wayne, probably for an episode of Rampage. Again, I don't care. In the back, Renee interviewed Don Callis, who was joined by Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita. Will Osprey was there, even though he has not been part of the Callis crew for a few months. Callis made a pitch to have Osprey team with Fletcher in the Tag Team Gauntlet match tonight so that they could challenge for the AEW Tag Team titles. Said that he had a lot, or Osprey said that he had a lot on his plate, and he didn't seem too keen on the idea. Callis reminded Osprey that he promised him a favor because he let him out of his contract with the group early. So he said, you know what? I'm cashing in on that favor. So then Kyle Fletcher spoke up. He said, look, I'm tired of coming so close and not getting the job done. Said that there's no one he would rather win the tag team titles with than Will. And Osprey said, look, I can't say no to him. And the two of them hugged, and so it was official. Takeshita did not look amused by any of this. We had Jack Perry and Lio Rush, who was accompanied to the ring by Action Andretti.
Amazing Gunther.
Oh, fuck Action Andretti.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther, the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Forget Action Andretti. We've got the real star. We've got Gunther. And we've got Jake Jones dropping a $50 bomb here on the stream. Says, hey, Solo, missed the show due to having to be a night shift cop and protecting these streets. But thanks for keeping me updated and keeping me company. Never forget 9/11. Never forget, indeed. And thank you for keeping the streets safe, Jake. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the super chat. So thank you very much. Glad that you're with us here tonight. But we had Jack Perry and Lio Rush. TNT title on the line. Action Andretti in Leo's corner. They showed Perry arriving to the building in his scapegoat van. Showed him walking through the back. All the way to the ring. He looked angry after losing to Bryan Danielson at All Out. So Perry, early in the match here, like in the opening minutes of the match, Perry suckered Action Andretti into grabbing his foot. He was like kicking at him and trying to get under his skin. And he took the bait. And he reached in. He was trying to grab a hold of Perry's foot. So Aubrey Edwards saw this and she ejected Action Andretti. And I guess that's what you're supposed to do if you're the referee. But I don't know, it's just weird. Like, we see so many matches in this company where people are just interfering with impunity over and over again. Maybe finally, eventually, they get ejected. Here, he just tried to reach in and grab the guy's foot and she threw him out. I was like, really? That's all it takes to get thrown out now? All right. Make sure there's an even enforcement of those rules, though, or else I'll have to send Jake Jones after you to arrest you. So anyway, this little delay here allowed Lio Rush to fight back, hit multiple tope suicidas. Back inside, Perry ran into a Spanish fly for a near fall. He fought back with snake eyes into the middle turnbuckle, lawn darted Lio Rush into the turnbuckle. But Rush fought back, hit a poison Rana, and then tried a springboard stunner, even though Perry was nowhere near him. But instead, Jack met him with a running knee strike and then a proper running knee, his finishing maneuver, to put the match away. Short match, too short to really be anything special, but this was not about making Lio Rush look good. This was about getting Jack Perry back in the win column after a loss to Bryan Danielson on Saturday. He is still the TNT champion, so, you got to try to keep him strong. So it was a rebound win for him. They also, very interesting here, during the match, if you paid attention on commentary, they seemed to be sowing the seeds for a future match between Jack Perry and Kenny Omega. Because during the match, he had used the, Omega's version of a snap German. And then on commentary, the announcers sent their well wishes to Omega and wished him a speedy recovery. So the Omega mentions here, and then the suplex has me thinking that when Kenny is ready to come back, that may be the first program for him. That may be the first match. Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, you don't want to go right into Okada. You want to build to it. But they may be setting something up with Perry and Omega for when he comes back. So Perry quickly stormed to the back. After the match was over, Alex Marvez tried to catch up with him backstage as he made his way back to the van. Down by the river, he was headed towards the van, and Perry said, he was asked his thoughts about All Out, and Perry said, "People like me are crucified in this life so they can be worshipped in the next." That's very deep. And he got in his van and he drove off. After this, Excalibur was running down the rest of the card for tonight. I don't know what was going on here. He kept messing up people's names. I mean, it looked to me like maybe he hit the sauce a little early tonight. Hey, brother, I've been there. But Excalibur was not on his A game tonight. Backstage, Renee spoke with Hangman Adam Page, coming off his victory over Swerve Strickland in Chicago at All Out on Saturday night.
It's the amazing Goonthar.
Oh my God. Yes.
Jerry Lawler loves Goonthar, the magnificent. All hail Goonthar.
All hail Goonthar for the second time tonight comes to us courtesy of one David Thiering with a $50 bomb. That is something you love to see. Now, he is talking about the insight into Mox versus Darby and Danielson versus Nigel. I get the reasoning to spur interest and sell tickets, but the vibes I get is AEW is acting like a pet that is chasing its own tail. Am I being too critical? Well, you got to be a little more specific as far as what exactly are you talking about? When you say that, what exactly do you mean? I'm going to get into all that. We'll get into those segments here in a bit, but I need a little more clarity on that. But David, thank you, man. That's very kind of you. So like I said, Renee was in the back with the Hangman. Look at all these guys. Boy, we have a lot of Excalibur hate here in the chat. Excalibur is never at his A game. When is Excalibur on his A game? Maybe his mask was on too tight. He was squeezing his head. He's got that fucking mask on every week. Maybe it was the mask. So Renee spoke with Hangman. She asked, where's your head at? And Hangman said that if he had found 1,000 homes that belonged to Swerve, he would have turned 1,000 houses into ash. He said he punished Swerve for what he did to him and his family. He said he wanted everybody to know that he meant what he did. He said that if you got in his way and stood between him and Swerve and tried to protect Swerve from him, he will find you and he will hurt you. So, for those of you who may have thought that he got that win over Swerve, now maybe he can calm down a little bit. Maybe he can be a little bit happier, mellow out a little bit. Not the case. This man is still unhinged. He has the crazy eyes. So as Hangman walked off, he knocked some random guy to the ground. I don't know if it was a wrestler or not. If it was, I didn't recognize who it was. Then he approached Top Flight. They were standing nearby having a conversation. He was looking them up and down. Then he turned to his left and he saw the Dork Order. They're standing there. Walks up to them. They look at him. Alex Reynolds, John Silver, Evil Uno. Evil Uno says he doesn't even know who Hangman is anymore. Then he turns to his right, and who's standing there but Double J? That's J-E-double-F, J-A-R-R-E-double-T. That was the gimmick in 1995. I can't believe I'm sitting here in 2024 and we're still talking about Jeff Jarrett on TV, but there he was. The last outlaw, face-to-face with Hangman Page. He said his family has promoted wrestling for 3 generations, and they've seen guys go down a dark path like Hangman is doing right now. And Jarrett said they always end up full of regret. He said Page would regret putting his hands on his wife. And then Hangman attacked Jarrett, beat the crap out of him, tossed him into a pile of chairs. Karen Jarrett showed up and yelled, and so Hangman pulled out his syringe and stuck her in the arm with... No, I'm kidding. I think I'm kidding. I mean, who knows, right? Who the fuck knows what this guy's liable to do? He might drug this woman and throw her in the trunk and take her God knows where. He may take her back to Jarrett's house and set the house on fire. This man isn't all there. It's an unsafe work environment. This man, in the span of a few days, he burned down a man's house. He committed arson. He injected somebody with a fucking hypodermic needle. There's no telling what he's capable of. So anyway, all the wrestlers that were standing around, they rushed over to try to help Jeff Jarrett out. Old Double J was left laying. Commander and Alex Abrahantes made their entrance, along with Private Party, for a trios match. Their opponents were already in the ring.
Look at Richie Rich over here dropping all
boy.
this money on me. Hey, I just want you to know, I think you rock. I don't mean The Rock, A-Rock, you rock. And I just wanted you to know that.
Holy shit, Uffman Entertainment just said, I want to get in on this party. And he dropped a $100 super chat bomb. They say it's my birthday. Well, it is my birthday. They say it's my birthday. We're going to have a good time. I'm glad it's my birthday. Happy birthday to me. Let me see the birthday emojis in the chat for Uffman. Uffman is always holding down the fort in the chat, one of our great mods. He does the Lord's work. It is his day of birth. Happy day of birth to Uffman Entertainment. I, for one, am grateful to Mama Uffman on giving birth to our esteemed mod. I don't know how many years ago. You didn't tell me your age, but I'm sure he's a young lad. Uffman, thank you very much. And again, happy birthday from all of us to you. So as I said, we were supposed to get a trios match here. Once they got to the ring, Jon Moxley, Marina Shafir, Claudio Castagnoli, and Pac, they all hit the ring and they attacked all the wrestlers from both teams. So you had a bunch of mid-card guys on one side, and you had, well, I guess the mid-card guys all around. All the mid-card guys got their asses handed to them by the Blackpool Combat Club. And Marina Shafir actually choked out Commander with a front-face guillotine, which is not that surprising because Commander is like 150 pounds. Marina Shafir, I think, is actually like, she's stronger. She's stronger and bigger than Commander is. So he went out like a light, just like that. Pac took the microphone, and Pac said that they were patient, but enough is enough. He said that this company is broken. What happened on Saturday was inevitable, and so are they. He said he's been lost for a long time, but now he has something to believe in. He found his purpose. He said, diplomacy has failed. This company is ours. And here I was looking so forward to seeing this random trios match. I got to tell you, I'm very disappointed here. Couldn't tell you the names of any of the fucking people on the other side. I think I might have seen Josh Woods in there. I'm not sure, but man, so I'm so upset that we didn't get random trios match number 12 here on this show. We'll get more into this when Moxley comes back out a few segments later. But first, we got to talk about the learning tree. Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and Brian Keith. They arrived in the parking area in a Bentley convertible. Jericho was wearing his $7,000 jacket that he claims was $7,000 that was ruined 4 years ago in an angle on Dynamite with Orange Cassidy when Orange Cassidy poured orange juice from up above and drenched him in his jacket. He has been bitching about this fucking jacket for 4 years. Now he shows up and he's wearing it. He also had a JanSport backpack that he says he stole from Orange Cassidy as collateral for the money that he owes him for ruining his jacket. Jericho said the $7,000 was not inside the backpack, as Orange Cassidy said it would be this week, but something else was, and he would show the world later on in the show what was in the backpack. And then after Jericho and his crew walked away, the camera lingered on Jericho's convertible. See, that is what you call foreshadowing. We had Ricochet one-on-one with Sammy Guevara. First time ever match here. Two very similar styles. Both guys very flashy. So this was more them trying to one-up each other. They brawled up the ramp. Guevara sent Ricochet face first into the entrance tunnel. And then he scaled the stage. He scaled the set. Hit a big moonsault off of it. That took us into a commercial break. Sammy wanted a powerbomb on the stage, but Ricochet backdropped out of it. Double jump senton off the barricade by Ricochet, who followed that with a springboard clothesline. And then a running shooting star press back inside for a 2 count. Ricochet wanted a Death Valley driver. Sammy, though, countered into a destroyer. And then a top rope cutter for a 2 count. Sammy went up top, rolled through a shooting star press. Ricochet tried a rolling cutter, but Guevara caught him with a pump knee. The GTH was dodged into a Ricochet roundhouse kick that led to an axe kick, and then Ricochet hit the Vertigo sit-out reverse DDT for the win. That is his new finish that he has been using so far. So another win to establish that move, and another win to establish him on the AEW roster. Just as the match ended, the Beast Mortos hits the ring, flattens Ricochet with a spear. Sammy grabs a chair, makes the save. He offers his hand to Ricochet, who accepts, and they pay respect to each other as the Beast retreats. This was a good showcase win for Ricochet over an established AEW star. And not only an established AEW star, but this is a guy who at one time was considered one of the pillars of AEW, right? Well, he was part of that Pillars 4-Way at Double or Nothing last year. Right? It was Sammy, it was Jungle Boy, it was MJF. So you had all these guys, and he was part of the fabric of this company. And the funny thing is, now he's technically not even on the AEW roster. He's a Ring of Honor guy. Ever since he came back, and it might have been by his request that he come back and start out at Ring of Honor. And, you know, he's tag team champions there with Dustin, so he's doing his own thing. But this supposed AEW pillar is now really primarily a Ring of Honor star now. But he is an established name who has been TNT champion multiple times before. So for Ricochet, that's a nice person to get a win over. Now we know Ricochet is on a collision course with Will Osprey, but Osprey said it all out. Told him, he goes, bruv, go win some matches, bruv. Then we could talk about you and me for the international title, bruv. But you got to rack up some wins, bruv. I'm trying to think which is more annoying. Is bruv or bro? Like the Russo bro? I think bruv is better. I can tolerate bruv. Bro just makes me, want to fucking put my head in a vice. I'd rather listen to Will Ospreay in a promo for 60 minutes straight just saying bruv than a Vince Russo promo where we hear bro over and over again. The funny thing is, you could say Kevin Nash, if you ever listen to any of the clips from his podcast, with him, it's the word fuck. I don't think he could put together apparently I can't either. I don't think he can string together a sentence without fuck. Shut the fuck up. Fuck that tree. Well, who am I to talk, I guess, right? We're all potty mouths here. What can I say? I guess the timing on that one kind of shut me up, so. I was going to say that Kevin Nash can't get through a sentence without saying the word fuck, but I guess that makes two of us, so let's move on. What is bruv? What are you asking me for? That's a British thing, right? It's British slang. What are you asking me for? Bruv. I agree. See, bro is definitely more annoying. I agree. Anyway, that's win number 2 in singles competition now for Ricochet. And I like also they've already set him up for an opponent for his next match. By having Mortos come out and attack him. So he is racking up wins now. That'll be his 3rd match whenever that happens. Maybe Dynamite next week. But they seem to be moving full speed ahead for this match with Osprey and Ricochet. I thought maybe they would hold off. Maybe until Revolution. But to me, the way things are moving, I don't know about Wrestle Dream, but it feels like for sure by Full Gear, I would think we're going to get this match between these two. Renee was in the back to interview the Continental Champion. Still, after his win in the 4-way match on Saturday, Kazuchika Okada, who said that his win, and at first he tried to talk about it like it was a really difficult thing, but I was able to hold on to my title. Yeah, but then he said, it was easy. It was an easy win for him. Don Callis and Konosuke Takeshita walked in. Callis noted that Okada never pinned Takeshita in that 4-way match, right? He pinned Cassidy. He did not pin Takeshita. So Okada said that Takeshita will be a champion, but he will not be the Continental Champion. And then he walked off. But then a couple of seconds later, he walked back into camera frame to call Callus a bitch, which popped the crowd, and Takeshita had to be held back. What did I say in my All Out review? I said, Takeshita did not take the losing fall. All you got to do is have Don Callis come out on TV and say, my guy's not the one who got pinned. This thing between you and him is not finished yet. And then we get the singles match between them for the championship. And to me, it looks like that might be a Grand Slam match. That could very well be added next week to the Grand Slam card on the 25th. Takeshita and Okada for the Continental title. Sounds good to me. Sign me up. Again, Tony Khan wants to move tickets for the show. They got a reaction tonight, too. They didn't just get a reaction in Chicago when the two of them came face-to-face briefly in the 4-way. When they were face-to-face in that backstage segment even, it got a rise out of the crowd. A crowd tonight, by the way, that was kind of dead for large chunks of the show. This was not the most enthusiastic AEW crowd, but they reacted to the face-off here. So the AEW fans want to see that match. So you want to move some tickets, that could be another match that helps in that regard. Put Okada in the ring in a title match on that show. And against Takeshita? I mean, that's all you need. You don't need any bells and whistles. You don't need to turn it into a 4-way or a 6-way. 1-on-1. That's it. That's all you need. Now we had Darby Allin out to the ring next. He said, somebody's been looking for him. Well, I'm right here. So Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir, they walk out from the crowd, and Marina got right up in Darby's face, so Moxley had to back her off. So Moxley said, I don't know what you've seen. I don't know what you've heard. Nothing has changed between us. Darby cut him off and said, there's a lot that I want to talk to you about. The two of us, we don't act like superstars. We came from nothing. He talked about how he used to live in his car. He's told his life story before. And he said that he doesn't take any of this for granted. That's why he wrestles the way that he does. He says he has people all the time telling him, Darby, slow down. But that's why he is the way that he is. He takes none of this for granted. It could all be over tomorrow. It could all end in an instant. He could be fired. He could kill himself. He's going to climb a mountain next year. He could fall off the mountain, right? So he lives for the moment. He wants to tell Moxley a story that he's never told him before. All the people that he wanted to emulate when he first got into the business, they all turned out to be fake. It all turned out to be, for the money or whatever the case may be, but they were all fake. They were all very phony. But not Moxley, which is why he wanted to be just like him. So Moxley will still go and wrestle at independent shows at gyms because he loves this. That's where the two of them met. At a gymnasium, at an independent show. He was so nervous he got to wrestle his hero. And Darby lost, but he said that he gained the confidence that day that he could be in the ring with somebody just like Jon Moxley. He said that he would never do to family, someone like Sting, for example, he would never do to his family what Moxley did to Bryan Danielson at All Out. He can never see himself doing something like that. So, John, what do you want? Moxley says Darby has a title shot at the World Champion at Grand Slam. But that match is not going to happen now because the champion is, in his words, indisposed. But Darby's not ready anyway. So his argument is that even though Darby had a title match that he earned, he's not ready to be in a championship match. And he's going to need Darby to go ahead and hand that title shot over to him right now. So Darby asks Mox if he's been drinking again. He said John didn't earn it. He did. If he wants it so bad, he said, do something about it. And Moxley said, you want me to earn it? He said, I'll earn it. Him and Darby, New York City, Grand Slam, Darby's world title shot on the line. He will teach him another lesson. He will show him where he is on the food chain, far below him. He says he will never be AEW World Champion. He doesn't have time to explain right now, but he's never lied to Darby. He said, trust me, you have no idea what's going on. That title shot is going to be his. This time he's going to teach him that lesson the hard way. Darby then accepted the challenge and said if Moxley wants to burn this place to the ground, not to be surprised when he pulls him into the fire. And of course, we're dealing with Darby Allin here, so when he says something like that, you have to take him literally. Because he did, after all, set a man on fire back at Double or Nothing. Let's not forget. So we are not, the big headline coming out of this segment here is that we are not getting an AEW World Championship match at Grand Slam, which sucks because that was one of the things I was looking forward to if Danielson did win at Wembley, which he did, that we would get Bryan and Darby for the first time ever. I just thought what an interesting clash of styles that would be. And with Bryan's run coming to an end, this would have been our only opportunity to get that match, which is why I'm thinking that we may not get a clear winner at Grand Slam. I could still see that being a three-way match. I could see it being all three of them involved in the main event in Tacoma. So I would not assume it's going to be a one-on-one match. So that aspect of it was disappointing, but there's something bigger going on here. This is what Moxley was referring to in his promo. He made it very clear to Darby. He said, look, you have no idea what's going on here, but something big is going down. It's almost like a higher power type deal. That's kind of the vibe I get from it. So I still feel the way that I'm sure a lot of you do. Shane McMahon is probably involved in this in some way. Shane's probably coming in. Tony can't help himself. I do think Shane is going to be associated with this story in some form or fashion. I don't know what form it's going to take. They're going to probably milk it for at least a few more weeks, which is smart. I think it is smart. We'll see if it has any impact on the numbers, but this could be their hot new angle. How hot? Remains to be seen. The last hot angle fizzled out very quickly. So now they're trying something new. There's nothing wrong with that. But I still get that gut feeling that you know who is going to be involved in this. But also, I will point out to you, him making the statement that Darby will never be AEW World Champion is like a flashing billboard that Darby is going to be AEW World Champion. And it may not be at Wrestle Dream, or maybe it will be. But it may not be. It may not even be this year. But I think that Tony Khan is probably working towards the goal of putting the AEW World Championship on Darby Allin. It's only a matter of when. Now, look, Darby is also from the Pacific Northwest. We talk about Bryan, we talk about Swerve, and that being his hometown, or at least where he was born. Darby's from that part of the country too. That's almost like a homecoming for him as well. So I could envision a scenario where not only does Darby and Moxley work their way into that main event match against Bryan at Wrestle Dream, assuming he defends the title on that show, and why the fuck wouldn't he? Darby could very well walk out as AEW World Champion. It is possible. But they're not putting that line in there and having Mox go so hard on the idea that you'll never be champion, unless the idea was, and I don't mean sort of in the abstract, 3 years from now, Darby might be champion. No, they're working towards something here that includes Darby, I think, getting the belt. It's just a matter of exactly when do they pull the trigger on that. Could be as early as next month. But it won't be at Arthur Ashe, because the title will not be on the line on that show. Alex Marvez was trying to interview Christopher Daniels in the back when Nigel McGuinness showed up and said that he needed a word with Tony Khan. And Daniels is like, got a live show going on here. And McGuinness is like, trust me. Just tell him, because I think he's going to want to hear what I have to say. And we would find out what he would have to say a little bit later on. We had Mariah May one-on-one with Queen Aminata. This was an AEW Women's World Championship Eliminator match. So if Aminata wins, she would earn the right to challenge for the title at a later date. Now, this stems from what I thought was just an awful segment on the pre-show. I know a lot of you probably don't even bother with the pre-show for these pay-per-views. I don't blame you. I mean, they had some matches on there that were fine, but they're not important. And the shows are long enough even without the pre-show that you don't have to sit through the pre-show. But they had a segment on there with... Shut the fuck up. Speaking of awful segments. Fuck that tree. Retro KOH says, fuck that tree. You and I are in agreement. Thank you, Retro. I'm going to get to your message in a little bit here, so don't go nowhere. But back to the pre-show at All Out. They had Sky Blue out there. Sky Blue broke her ankle a month ago. She's from Chicago, so she went out there for a promo. She was interrupted by Mariah May, and they had just these high school schoolyard insults back and forth. It was very cringeworthy. I hated it. It was such a terrible segment. But the payoff to it was Queen Aminata coming out to try to save Sky Blue before she could be assaulted by her own crutch. That is what led to the match here. For those of you who want the backstory. There wasn't much of one, but that was the backstory to why we got this match here tonight. Late in the match, Mariah hit a missile drop kick. Aminata fought out of the corner, followed with a snap suplex and a release German. And then Aminata hit a charging punt kick right to the face for a 2. I thought she kicked her in the face flush. Referee got down. He was checking on her. I thought for sure this woman was going to stand up and have blood pouring from her fucking nose, but she was okay. Mariah fought out of a powerbomb attempt, then connected on a draping DDT for a near fall. Aminata again battled back, went up top, rolled through a double stomp. Mariah met her with a running drop kick and then hit Storm Zero for the win. Good showing for both women, mainly a showcase for Mariah. This was only Aminata's second appearance ever on Dynamite, and funny enough, the only other match that she ever had on Dynamite was back in January, and that match was against Mariah May. That was Mariah May's in-ring debut on Dynamite, and it came against Queen Aminata. So here we are now in September, back in the ring together. But I thought that it would have been helpful to hear from Aminata in a promo backstage before the match, because again, if you didn't see that segment on the pre-show, and if you don't pay attention typically to what's going on Rampage and Collision, you might not even know who this woman was. She's out there fighting for the right to try to potentially challenge for the AEW Women's World Championship. So why not allow her to cut a promo, right before even if it was something like, and we see this with WWE now, where they're in the gorilla position, cutting a promo, their music hits, they walk out, like something right before she goes out to the ring, just to explain, why this is so important to her. Just nothing. They just send her out there. A woman who's never on Dynamite, but for one appearance, fucking 9 months ago, it would have been nice to hear a little something from her. Mariah took the microphone. She was rolling around in the ring, and she said that she still has not had her Women's Championship celebration. After winning the title at Wembley, she still has not had her celebration. Something is missing. She said someone is missing. Mina Shirakawa, please come back. Yes, I agree. Mina, please come back. We're going to get Mina back. That's never a bad thing. The Young Bucks were backstage, and they brought up how they wanted to have the greatest tag team division of all time when they started AEW. Well, too bad. You can't always get what you want. Actually, they kind of had that at the beginning. Lately, not so much. 5 years later, they're still here doing all the heavy lifting, they said. They hear the whispers of fans wanting a new team to take over the tag team division instead of them. Be upset that the teams aren't good enough to beat them. And Nicholas said that this is the reason they booked this Casino Gauntlet tonight. He wishes good luck to everybody in the Gauntlet and said they're going to need it. And they, being the Bucks, are going to be out there to watch the match live. Then we had the Learning Tree. Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and Brian Keith against the Iron Savages. Jericho worked the match in his stained $7,000 jacket. Brian Keith made a blind tag into the match and hit a diamond dust off the ropes to Jacked Jameson. Jack Jameson, baby. Let's get jacked. I'm trying to be more exciting than this match was here. So Diamond Dust to Jacked Jameson, after which Jericho tagged back in, placed his boot on Jameson. I'm sure he'll be drinking some Jameson when the show is over. And with his boot on Jameson, he posed. And he got the 3 count. So after the match, Jericho talks about his fucking jacket again. If I never hear about this jacket again, it'll be a day too soon. Talks about his jacket again, which is why he stole Orange Cassidy's backpack. What a feud, by the way. Can we just sit here for a second and admire what a wonderful feud this is? What an amazing feud this is. We have Chris Jericho complaining about a jacket that was stained by orange juice 4 years ago on TV, crowing about $7,000 that he is owed. Orange Cassidy's backpack is stolen, and the item inside the backpack that Jericho told us that he would reveal to the world was a framed photo of best friends from back in the day when it was Statlander and Cassidy and Trent and Chuck. It was a photo of all of them together. He said that Cassidy is still obsessed with friendship. He says that there are no friends in wrestling, and if he thinks he has friends, he's being used. Pull your hands out of your pockets and your head out of your ass and pay me my money. Jericho wanted to be paid. Imagine Jericho doing collections for the mob. I would pay him whatever he wants just to shut up so I don't have to hear the whiny voice. I think he would be quite successful. Orange Cassidy was shown on the big screen. Said that he doesn't have all of Jericho's cash. But his boys are coming with it. And his boys turned out to be Mark Briscoe and Kyle O'Reilly. They were driving one of those big Bobcat machines. And they used it to pour $7,000, or what was supposed to be $7,000, I guess. Didn't look like $7,000, but it was supposed to be $7,000 worth of pennies into the convertible, into the Bentley. And then Cassidy tossed $1 in to make exact change. Jericho, back in the ring, was furious. He threw a fit, even though the car was not actually damaged. He poured some change into it. So what? Do you know the damage that we have seen done to cars on wrestling television before? I thought when they drove the Bobcat thing, I thought they were going to have, pour cement like they did in McMahon's Corvette all those years ago. I thought they were going to fill it with, as Jim Ross would call it, cement. They put coins in there. This guy's flipping out like this thing was flattened like a pancake, like Sid's car was when he feuded with Goldberg in WCW. This sucked. I hate this. I hate everything about this. This is stupid. It's lame. And by the way, I feel vindicated because it barely got any reaction from the crowd. Because you could hear the crowd audio as they were showing everything on the screen and Jericho's flipping out. It barely got any reaction at all. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. This stuff is so, this learning tree stuff, anything that they are involved in, Jericho is involved in right now, I cannot bring myself to care. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. So Jericho and Cassidy, they're going to have a match on Dynamite next week. Good. Let's blow this thing off once and for all and move on, please, for my sanity. Oh, my God. Now we get to the good stuff here, because after a break, Nigel McGuinness was in the ring. He said that there's something he needed to get off of his chest. With Darby Allin putting his title opportunity on the line at Grand Slam against Jon Moxley, there will not be an AEW Championship match anymore, like there was originally supposed to be. So that's good news for the champion, he said, who's probably strapped to an iron lung, gasping for air like Justin Roberts when he got choked out by his own tie. It's not so good for AEW. As a former world champion himself, he believes the champion should at least be competing at Grand Slam. And then McGuinness pulled out a piece of paper, looked like a contract, and he was asking how many years he has had to watch Bryan Danielson's career having success that should have been his. He was living the life and the career that he thought he would have. So Danielson is afraid of Nigel McGuinness. He's afraid of the one match that everybody wants to see, but Tony Khan is not afraid. He knows a money match when I almost said money mark. He knows a money match. He probably knows a money mark too. Knows a money match when he sees one. So at Grand Slam, it will be Bryan Danielson one-on-one with Nigel McGuinness at Arthur Ashe Stadium. And he guarantees that at Arthur Ashe Stadium, he said Oasis is going to play him to the ring, which was a very interesting thing for him to kind of drop in there. So he's claiming that Oasis will be there live, I guess. I mean, maybe he's not saying that the band will actually be there live. Maybe he's saying the music. Maybe the music will play him to the ring. I heard that, though, and I read that as Oasis will be there to play him to the ring at Arthur Ashe. He says, but will Danielson join him for the final countdown? Or will it be the final match of the American Coward? The ball is in Danielson's court. So first and foremost, I'm very happy that we are finally going to get this match. I didn't think I was losing hope that it was going to happen. Wembley really would have been the best place for it. That would have been ideal. Especially in front of that many people, whatever number, 46,000, 50,000. There were a lot of people there. That will not be at Arthur Ashe Stadium this year, let's put it that way. So that would have been ideal. That didn't happen, but we are going to get the match. I'm happy we're going to get the match, and I think it's going to be a great match. Okay, so let me just say that right off the bat. That being said, you cannot ignore the logic gap here. There's two things about this. Number one is the obvious logic gap, which is that earlier in the show, we were told that the World Championship match that had been advertised for weeks is now off. And it's off. Now, Jon Moxley is the one who said that Bryan is indisposed. They're not exactly on the best of terms right now. Maybe he's just saying that. You think, okay, maybe Bryan will be there, right? But no, they made it pretty clear. Bryan is indisposed, and Tony Khan has made the match between Jon Moxley and Darby Allin. But then only a few segments later, you have Nigel McGuinness come out and say, I've got a contract in my hand for a match with me and Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam. And Excalibur says, well, that's if Bryan is cleared by that point. So if you try to apply some level of logic here, you can say that the idea is that Danielson is beat up right now, and he's very iffy for the show. And therefore, they want to wait until he is back to 100% before he defends his championship. So they're going to call the title match off for now. But then Nigel shows up and says, well, I want a match with Danielson if he's cleared to compete. Doesn't have to be for the title. And that's how they left it. If he's cleared, then we'll get Danielson and Nigel, and it's a non-title affair. That's me trying to apply logic to this. But yes, I agree to the people who I'm sure are saying, well, it doesn't make any sense. Either he can wrestle or he can't wrestle. I know. It's stupid. But to go back to what I said at the beginning of the review, I think it's two things. I think they realize that it's now or never to do this match. And Tony Khan wanted an attraction for that show. He's trying to sell tickets. He's really been struggling trying to move seats for this show. So he pivoted, he changed, plans a little bit, shook things up, which isn't always a bad thing to shake things up a little bit if things feel very stagnant. But logic be damned, because it's very stupid. But here's the other thing that also kind of bothers me, and it's a little disappointing. They are going into this match very quickly. Now, I said that I would have loved to have seen the match at All Out. You would have had the same issue with All Out. You had 1 week to build that show. So to be fair, you would have had the same problem there. But here, you're not going to have any promos between them. Unless Danielson is back on the show next week, for this level of hatred that Nigel has had for this man and the history between them. I feel like there's at least one really great in-ring face-to-face promo segment that we can get out of those two. And my fear is that we may not get it. Now, just because they haven't announced it doesn't mean it won't happen on TV next week. Or they may throw it out there on an episode of Collision, maybe next weekend. It could still happen. I hope it does. I really hope it does. What a waste it would be after all this time for them to just announce the match. They just had Nigel go out there and announce the match. And then the only thing we get out of it maybe is like some pre-taped vignette from Danielson. I want to see these two either doing some kind of a split screen via satellite live interview deal, or get them in the ring and let them go face to face and cut promos on each other. And I just don't know if we have enough time to make it happen. There's only one Dynamite left before Grand Slam. So it feels very rushed, because it is. It is very rushed. And because of that, I feel like we're not going to get out of this what we should. We're just going to go right into the match. And I feel like that would be such a waste, because it's not just about the match. It should never just be about the match or the matches. There has to be something else there to it. You've got a story here. You've got a rich history between these two. Tell that story. Let them tell the story in the ring before the match, and get people really excited, even more excited to want to go see it. So we might yet get it, but if we don't, I'm going to be very disappointed. But here we go, baby. Bryan and Nigel back in New York. 15 years later, this is going to be something special. I'm looking forward to it. Where are we at on the likes? I haven't even checked since the beginning of the stream. So get those thumbs in. Get those thumbs in. Get those thumbs up. We're at 348. We're still off from our goal. I don't know. Got about 50 more to go. We got a vignette from Hook sitting on the steps somewhere on a New York City street. You know how I knew this? You know how I could tell that I'm from New York City? I could tell just based on the trash pile up on the sidewalk behind him. I could almost pinpoint the street. Almost. But he was sitting there and he was talking about Roderick Strong. He respects Roddy. Once his buddies attacked him after he choked Roddy out, though, things changed. That's not the Roddy that he respects. But he's challenging Strong anytime, any place to a match for the FTW title. Fine. The show closed with the Tag Team Casino Gauntlet match for a future shot at the AEW World Tag Team Championships, currently held by the Young Bucks. This was the first tag team casino gauntlet that AEW has ever done, but it was the fourth casino gauntlet match in the last 5 months. This should be saved for a twice-a-year attraction. I've said that before. You could even do once a year as part of a pay-per-view, but I'd be fine doing it twice a year. But when you do it 4 times in 5 months, and we may not have seen the last one, now you're just taking a concept that worked and you're just going to beat it to death until nobody cares about it. So, Tony, please, let this be the last one for a while. They are generally very fun. But my fear is you just keep doing them over and over, they're going to lose that special factor to them. The way it works, as I'm sure you're all aware by now, there are usually 21 entrants. Not all 21 will make it out, typically, because the match can end at any moment. It's not like a Royal Rumble where everybody has to be called out to the ring before the match can end. You could come out at number 1 and pin number 2, and the match is over. Simple as that. That's how it works. So the Bucks came out, and they took a seat on the stage as FTR entered as team number 1. Team number 2, Will Osprey and Kyle Fletcher. So they went at it for a while. Vincent and Dutch, the Righteous, entered at number 3. Another team that never shows up on Dynamite. Matt Taven and Mike Bennett were out 4th representing, and it didn't hit me until I heard them mention the Undisputed Kingdom. I totally forgot about the Undisputed Kingdom, I'm not going to lie. Like, I know, like, Roddy is around and stuff, but just in terms of the faction itself, because it's fucking dead. Like, there is no Undisputed Kingdom anymore. You have the Kingdom, and, you know, Roddy is with the Kingdom, and that's it. That's all you have. There is no more Adam Cole. There is no more Wardlow. We don't know when we'll see them ever again. They're done for now. The Undisputed Kingdom is a thing of the past. It is a relic. The fact that they're even still calling it that and acknowledging it, I don't even know what the point of that is. I mean, you talk about one of the great failures creatively in the history of this company. This one's on the list. This one is definitely on the list. The Acclaimed was out at number 5. Number 6 was MXM, the former Maximum Male Mid-Carders. They were back here on Dynamite, or models, I'm sorry. They were back here on Dynamite. First Dynamite appearance. They've been making appearances on Ring of Honor and on Collision. Or not Collision, Rampage, right? They haven't been on Collision. They've been on Rampage and Ring of Honor. So this was their debut here on Dynamite. What happened to Wardlow? Says Dead Waffles. Fuck if I know. I've lost all interest. I don't even give a shit. I'm not even going to ask the question anymore, because what's the point? There's no point. He'll reappear somewhere else when his contract is up, and then he'll try to resuscitate his career. Until then, I don't really give a fuck. But yes, we had Madden and Mansoor. They were out at number 6. They've been working on other programs, but they got some FaceTime tonight on this show. Top Flight was out at number 7, which gave us a fun little sequence between Will Ospreay and Dante Martin. FTR caught Anthony Bowens with a shatter machine, and everybody in the gauntlet broke up the pin at the same time. Then, out to the ring at number 8, we have got the Outrunners, and oh my God, the reaction that these guys got from this crowd was not what I was expecting. The Outrunners are, again, they're another team. Rarely, if ever, do you see them on Dynamite. They are a mid to lower card act in the company. They're a fun act. You know, they're supposed to be a throwback to, like a 1980s team right off of NWA television or AWA television. But they came out and they got the biggest pop of anybody in the match. FTR was close, but these guys got the biggest reaction of anybody, and you could see it too. You could see everybody, they were standing up, they were clapping for these guys, they were excited to see Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum, who just picked up their first win on Friday. So these guys have been slowly getting over on the secondary shows to come out and get this kind of reaction. Something is clicking with them. Now, if you didn't see it, I should mention this. Earlier today on AEW's Twitter page, They posted a video. It's like a minute long. It's like a workout video. Again, I swear to God, it's something straight out of 1980s NWA. It's a workout video with the Outrunners, and they applied some like 80s filters to the video to make it look like something off a VHS tape. It's actually quite good. Like it came out nicely. So again, they have an entertaining act. They're hardly a main event act, but they're over. So Tony Khan should really think about doing something more with these guys and maybe building them towards a tag team championship win. Not right now, but take their time and really build them up to where the fans want to see them win the tag team titles. Why not? Why not tell that story? Would that not be more interesting than running back the Bucks and FTR for match number 7? Or the Bucks against almost anybody else that we normally see on these shows? I'd be down for that. Grizzled young veterans entered at number 9. They were met on the stage, though, by FTR. They never even made it to the ring. FTR went up on stage, cut them off. They ended up brawling to the back. They have a match, by the way. FTR and GYV on Collision this Saturday. Everybody piled up on the floor outside, which left Turbo Floyd and Mansoor on the ropes. They did a superplex spot onto the pile on the floor. Everybody fell down. Back inside, Darius Martin hit Vincent with a missile drop kick. Mike Bennett gave Darius a pile driver. Kyle Fletcher hit Bennett with a brainbuster. Dante Martin went for a top rope splash, but Fletcher got the knees up. Will Osprey then came in and blasted him right in the back of the head with a hidden blade, and Kyle Fletcher pinned him to win it for his team. And so Will Osprey and Kyle Fletcher are now number 1 contenders. They win the gauntlet. They've got a title match in their back pocket. When? For Grand Slam. September 25th, it will be for the tag team titles. Osprey, Fletcher against Matt and Nick Jackson. That match is now official. What do I think is going to happen? Oh, I think they're going to lose, and I think that's where Don Callis turns on Will Osprey. I'm surprised it's taken this long. When Osprey went to him a few months ago and said, look, Don, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I got to do this by myself. I want out. I want out of the Callis family. And he was hesitant. He goes, I don't normally do this, but okay. And he let him go. And I said, no. This is not a man to be trusted. But that was like 2 months ago, 3 months ago now. Nothing's happened. But they've circled back to this story where, okay, I'm cashing in my favor that you owe me for letting you out of your contract. If they don't win this match, then that's going to be bad news for Will Ospreay. And I guess the question at that point is, if they do some kind of a turn on him, is Fletcher going to turn on Ospreay? And then they work a match between Ospreay and Fletcher, maybe at Wrestle Dream, right? Hold off on the Ricochet match until Full Gear in November. That's how I see this playing out. Because things are going to go sour with Callis and Ospreay. It's inevitable. And Ospreay and Takeshita, we've already gotten it. Takeshita's got his own thing going on with Okada. So Ospreay and Fletcher, with Fletcher turning on him, is the only thing that really makes sense to me. As far as the gauntlet match itself, overall, it had its fun moments. Again, the Outrunners and how over they were, to me, were the real highlight. But this was the weakest, easily the weakest of all the gauntlet matches so far. And I feel like it's the law of diminishing returns. The more that they keep doing these things, the less it's going to mean and the less fun they're going to be. Which is why I hope that they put a moratorium on these for a while before they come back to it next year. So this was not great. The last time they headlined Dynamite with a gauntlet was back in June, and it was fucking great. It was one of the best Dynamite main events of the year. That's not what this was. That is not what this was. So that was Dynamite. It was a mixed bag in some ways because there were parts of the show that were boring. I mean, the Jericho stuff is insufferable to sit through with the jacket, and it's just insufferable. But then there was some good stuff, and again, they did a very good job, I will say, of setting up some big matches for Grand Slam in a couple of weeks. I'm very curious after the announcement tonight of Danielson and Mcginness, what kind of effect that has on tickets. Like I said, they were, as of 5 or 6 days ago, they were 3,700. Let's just assume they're at 4,000, right? Coming into this show tonight. Now, they announced Moxley and Darby, but the big match was Danielson and McGuinness. And so usually WrestleTix will have updates about how many more tickets have been added. I'm just curious what that match is worth. How many extra tickets is that match worth? How many tickets do you think that match announcement is worth? We could take some gentlemen's bets here. See who ends up being the closest. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll. What did you think of Dynamite following All Out? 52% thumbs up, 48% thumbs down. Pretty close. Look at that. It's like the election. Pretty close. We're almost at 1,000 votes, so go ahead and...
It's the amazing Gunther.
I vote for Gunther.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther, the magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Gunther's got my vote. David Thiering with another $50 Gunther bomb here on a Wednesday night. Holy shit. Following up on his earlier comment, we better get to these messages so I can get to David's. Go ahead and vote. At Solomonster on X. That is my handle. Yeah, we've seen Gunther more in one night tonight than we have in a while. That's what I love to see, man. I love to see his smiling face. All right, as usual, let's go to the early ones that came in. We'll start there. Fire Panda was number 1. So shout out to Fire Panda. Thank you for the dono. It says, if your father had written a book, would it be a guide on how to grow a kick-ass mustache like him? So grooming tips with Papa Monster? I don't know about that. It was a pretty sweet mustache. Yeah, I couldn't pull it off. But he had a pretty bitchin' mustache, I will say. Thank you, Fire Panda. Casper the Tryhard. Favorite Eric the Actor moment? Ack. You know, I don't really have any singular Eric the Actor moment. I can't think of any one in particular that really stands out to me. He kind of annoyed me, to be honest with you. I was never really an Eric the Actor fan. He just kind of pissed me off. Sorry. Artie was very entertaining, though. The show was never the same when Artie left. Artie had his own problems, though. Johnny with the $2. Why did Darby give the match with nothing in return? Because Darby is an idiot. He kind of explained it in his promo where he doesn't take things for granted and he just sort of lives for the moment. And is Darby the kind of person who's going to say no to a challenge? Is Darby the kind of person who's, going to say, no, it's my title shot? No, I mean, it kind of fits his character that he's like, all right, whatever, fuck it, man. You want me? You got me. Anybody else, I would say it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it's Darby. The guy's out of his fucking mind. Nothing ever makes sense with Darby. The stuff that he does not make any sense. He's a crazy person. Jerome Eugenio, do you think when Darby wins his first AEW World title, that it should be against MJF? I think that would be very appropriate. It doesn't have to be against MJF, but with the history between them, I think that would probably make the most sense. I don't think it will be against MJF, though. But I see where you're coming from. I see what you're saying there. Got a lot of history between those two. I just don't think it's going to happen that way. Jessica Herman, what's going on, Jessica? Thank you for the 5. I really feel like the Gauntlet match shows how weak and boring the tag team division is right now. Thank you for all the content. My number 1 podcast. Thank you, Jessica. You are the number 1 Jessica here on these streams. Yeah, the Gauntlet match, I think, really did illustrate just how lackluster the division really feels right now. I think that's a fair point. I was shocked. You know what surprised me? every gauntlet match they've done so far is built around this idea of surprises. And that's probably part of the reason why I didn't have as much fun with it. You expect that there's going to be at least one surprise in there. And there was none. There were no surprises in this. So I think that's part of the reason why it just didn't feel as special. They usually give you something like that, and they didn't give you anything like that here. Raph had a lovely time in Paris at the Paralympics, but it's good to be home and watching live. WWE AEW starting at 2 a.m. was not working for me, brother. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Can you imagine staying up for, like, especially some of these SmackDown shows that we've been getting lately? Staying up until like 3 o'clock in the morning for SmackDown? Like, who would do that? Don't do that. Whatever you do, don't do that. Oz and Glorious with the 5. Oz, thank you very much. AEW is coming out here in late October. Got tickets, but have not seen a single bit of advertising anywhere on the ground or online for the locals. I'm not surprised. It's one of their weeks. One of their weaknesses is still, even with the people they have brought in, is their lack of local advertising in many markets. I feel like in some markets they do a better job than others. When Swerve was champion, he was doing quite a bit of media. MJF, going into Forbidden Door, was doing local television here in New York. He was on some of the local news stations. But it's very hit or miss. And I do think that it's a real problem for them, especially in some of the smaller markets. They just have to do a better job of advertising their brand and getting out there and promoting these shows. And they're just not doing the job they should be doing. And I think it's reflected in the poor ticket sales they have in some of these venues. But Oz, thank you for the pair of super chats. Jake Jones from earlier got us started on the Gunther train with the 50. I already read your message, Jake. I gave you first reading dibs here on the stream. Jake, thank you. LC Killer 17 says, never forget 9/11/01. Still remember where I was on that fateful day. David Thiering with the $50 Gunther. Again, I read David's message earlier. I know he's got a follow-up here coming up, so we'll get to it. We'll get to it here in a second. Yeah, I just realized this. I didn't scroll down here on this list. Maybe that's why. I was like, how come I'm not catching up with this list? Here we go. Now we're caught up. David Thiering with another $50. Again, thank you very much. That was from an hour ago. Bender McSimpson. I do love Jack Perry's scapegoat van. Also, I didn't think Nigel looked good at All In. I have doubts for him and Bryan at Grand Slam. Well, what was it about him that didn't look good? He looked fine to me. For a guy who hasn't had a match since 2011, I mean, what were you expecting in a gauntlet match? He's going to be held to a higher standard in a singles match. But in a gauntlet match like that, I mean, what were you expecting? Like, look at Okada in the gauntlet. What did Okada do in that match? Right? They did their spots. I think he's going to be just fine. He's been working out in the ring and doing some mock matches now for many months. So he's in shape. He's feeling good. And this is a match that he has wanted for a very long time. So if he was going to put his best foot forward and want to go out there and not fuck up, and not have people thinking, oh man, you know, he's okay, but like, it's not the guy I remember. Like, believe me, this is a match he has wanted for so long. The match we get from him on the 25th, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people who may have their doubts about what he can do. I smoke a lot of weed. Our boy is back. He has returned. Did I watch the debate? I was occupied last night. We were live. We were live. Had a great Tuesday Night Titans last night. I see some people in the chat who were there last night. I hope you guys enjoyed that show. I smoke a lot of weed. Pass it around. We got a lot of people in the chat. You got to share. You can't hoard it all for yourself. You got to share. You got to pass some of that stuff around. Pull some pieces off. Uffman Entertainment with the $100 super chat again. Happy birthday, brother. From me to you and everybody in the chat. Wishing you well here on your special day. Bender McSimpson. Sometimes I think Tony Khan listens to your show, but then he books another Casino Gauntlet, and then I think maybe he doesn't. Yeah, I think it's the latter, and not the former. Others do. Him, I'm not so sure about. Oz and Glorious. The stories I care about on AEW TV get much less time weekly than the 20 to 29-year-old boring as fuck prospects that we are force-fed endlessly. Bring back Dark. You might get your wish, because with this new deal that we still have not heard about, there may not be exclusivity anymore with Warner Brothers Discovery. If that's the case, they may be able to resurrect Dark, if that's something Tony Khan even wanted to do. They had to get rid of Dark because they have an exclusivity clause in their current contract. That may not be the case with this new deal. Plus, we don't know what this AEW Shockwave thing is for that they trademarked. House of Has with the $6. Unrelated to anything potentially happening in AEW, but what's the surname that you first think of in relation to New York wrestling? Hope I remember in time for Grand Slam in New York. The first name when I think of New York, honestly, I think of Bruno. I think of Bruno Sammartino, who probably sold out more Madison Square Garden shows than anybody in the history of that building when it comes to wrestling. Hey, Tab in the chat. TAB, what's going on, man? Hold on a second here. I have a little friend joining us here. Hold on. My friend is dead. That's what happens. House of Has, though, thank you, man. Thank you for the chat. Esru. Any advice on what to say to a coworker who claims to be a wrestling fan, thus blithering idiot coworker confuse Liv Morgan with Alexa Bliss? Oh boy, don't let Bliss fan know. Bliss fan, can you believe this? That this person confused Liv Morgan with Alexa Bliss? As far as what to say to your coworker, I would just correct your coworker. I mean, if your coworker is a wrestling fan, I mean, they're both blonde. So, I mean, it's not unreasonable to think that somebody who isn't a hardcore diehard fan would get them confused. I wouldn't go too hard on them. I thought you were going to tell me that, it's one of these, like, you watch that fake stuff. You know it's fake, right? I wouldn't go too hard on them. People confuse blondes all the time. Take it from me. I get messages every day. Every single white guy in an old wrestling photo. Hey, that looks like Solomonster. Bryan Danielson, a young Bryan Danielson. That kind of looks like Solomonster. Orange Cassidy. That kind of looks like Solomonster. Jack Swagger. That kind of looks like Solomonster. There was some Swedish fucking soccer player that somebody tweeted me once. That looks like Solomonster. So basically, any white guy with blonde hair, I'm mistaken for them all the time. I'm kind of used to it. Jeremy Rose. How do we book Daniel Bryan to miss Grand Slam to defend the title, but he's okay to fight Nigel? Shouldn't Darby be like, what the fuck? No, because Darby already agreed that he's, you know what, brother? You want to fight me for my title shot? I'll give you a shot at my title. He agreed to the match with Mox. He could have said no. He agreed to it. He's an idiot. It's actually quite on brand for Darby. The Juliet 316 just broke that Nikki Bella has filed for divorce from her husband. I did see that. Good for her. I didn't comment on the story because it's It's none of my business. I really don't have anything to add that anybody else hasn't already added. So, good for her. I mean, that's something that I'm happy to hear. Sucks because they have a small child together. But that did not seem like a good relationship for her to be in. Retro KOH, you said higher power. Wasn't one McMahon being a higher power enough? Fight Club Shane in his goofy ass jacket with his swollen, sweaty face is not needed. Brother, you're preaching to the choir here. I'm the one who argued against bringing him in the first place. There will be an initial buzz around him, an initial excitement from a lot of people who are going to say, oh my goodness, we have a McMahon on AEW television. This is amazing. And then it will die down like every other thing they do. And as you said, what we will be left with is, what did you say? You said swollen, bloated, sweaty Shane McMahon throwing his phantom punches. That is what we will be ending up with. That's what we will be left with. But I feel like it's coming. The real CS says, I think Bryan and Nigel should have happened in Wembley at All In this year, but still looking to do it. I think he means still looking forward to it. At Grand Slam. So am I. BCom see clearly, his name is Jonathan Good, aka Jon Moxley. Jonathan Bad. He tried to fucking suffocate somebody with a plastic bag. He is now Jonathan Bad. Dorenzo. Solomonster is better at getting the learning tree over than Jericho is. Oh, fuck yeah. Of course. I could have told you that. David Thiering with the $50 Gunther bomb yet again. My earlier comment came from me feeling like AEW was trying to do so many things, but not achieving much. And not understanding due to the logic gaps, but what you said about it and including Shane cleared things up. Thanks for clarifying. That's why I am here. That's why I'm here. I'm glad to help. Always glad to be of service. David, again, man, thank you. Thank you for the support. Project Libertad, remember the tweet Jericho did a long time ago about how if terrorists hijacked a WWE plane, 9/11 would not have happened. Imagine that with the learning tree. Well, Jericho has tweeted a lot of stupid shit over the years. And Ricky Cornflakes, do you think Hologoat will dethrone Brain? I have no idea what you're talking about. Hologoat? The hell is that? I have no idea. I smoke a lot of weed passing it around like I told him to? Because if not, I'm going to be very upset. What shirt am I wearing? It is a special custom Bret Hitman Hart shirt from an Etsy store called Chicken Feet store. I don't know. Is he talking about a hologram? But what does that mean, though? Brain. Well, even if you say hologram, well, hologram will dethrone Brain. What is Brain? What is that? I have no idea. Is that like Pinky in the Brain? I haven't got a clue. It's too late to try to decode. We are at 417 likes. That I like. That I understand. So weird. So weird. Let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Ricky Cornflakes in the chat says Daniel Bryan. He's Bryan Danielson. So, will Hologram dethrone Bryan, is what you're trying to say. It said Hologoat. How am I supposed to know that that's hologram? And the answer is no. I saw a hologram the other night. Am I missing something with this hologram shit? I mean, I must be missing something. It looks like any other small masked luchador that we've seen in AEW before. Explain to me exactly why I should be impressed by hologram. I'm not seeing it. All right, tag team Be the Booker. We begin with RK Bro, Randy Orton, and Matt Riddle trying to, I guess, dress up here as Randy Orton in this image with the goatee. RK Bro could be a thing again one day. I have a feeling Riddle will eventually be back in WWE. Apparently Riddle thinks the same thing. RK Bro against Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. Both teams former tag team champions in WWE. That would get Randy Orton back in the ring with Cactus Jack. That was the match that put Orton on the map back at Backlash in 2004. So that's a winner right there. Over to the ladies. Daddy Ugarte says, hologram is Tony Khan's caw from his N64 days. Honestly, I mean, it really does. It looks like something that Tony Khan like sketched out on his pad in the middle of a fucking school day when he was a kid. He's like, one day I'm going to have a wrestler that looks just like this and I'm going to call him Hologram. But then again, I feel like a lot of what Tony Khan sort of says in books, it's just him living out these, teenage wrestling fantasies that he's had. All right, women's Be the Booker. We are going to kick things off with the former WWE Women's World Champion Bayley, who is going to be... Is Bayley on the show this Friday, that first USA Network show? I thought she was. Is she wrestling on Friday? I can't remember now. Now we got Cody and Solo in the cage. Bayley, 1-on-1 with Mariah May. This is Stardom Mariah May, but Bayley and Mariah May, there you go. That's a winner. You know who have exchanged DMs with each other? She mentioned this in an interview she did a few months ago. She was at a convention of some kind, but she got interviewed. And I believe that Mariah has said that she and Tiffany Stratton have been in touch. Sometimes people confuse them. Again, the whole blonde thing. But they've talked to each other via DM, and they're big fans of each other's work. Maybe one day they'll get to work together. How about that? Tiffany Stratton and Mariah May. But Bayley and Mariah, man, that's a winner right there. So we're 2 for 2 so far. We are indeed on the right track. We just need one more. That's all we need. That's all we need. We begin with the big red machine, Kane. Here he is, his one day as WWE champion. That was it right there. That's still the best Kane outfit, still the best Kane look in the history of the character. And it will be Kane defending that title against, let's find out, Nick Jackson of the Young Bucks and Kane for the WWE Championship. How are we feeling about this? Because Nick Jackson has actually had some pretty banger singles matches. And I feel like those of you who really dislike the Young Bucks would probably enjoy Kane just like squashing and destroying one half of the Young Bucks. So what are we thinking here? I got to make a decision. I got a 5-second countdown here. 5, 4, 3. All right. I was on the fence. I was thinking about it, but that's not the main event I was hoping to book here. Hair versus hair. Yeah, I can make it a hair match. I am curious though, if we add a stipulation to that. I mean, it's already over, but let's what kind of match would it be? With Kane and Nick Jackson. Let's see. I don't know. I think the hair stipulation is actually in here. It'd be kind of funny if we landed on it. Nope, we landed on Hell in a Cell. Kane and Nick Jackson in Hell in a Cell. That'd be pretty crazy, but I still give that the buzzer. How about an Inferno match? See, I'd hate to be in a match like that, like an Inferno match, if I've got long hair. Like Undertaker and Kane, that very first Inferno match, they both have long hair. I'm sure they wet it before they went out there, but I'd just be terrified if I'd shave my fucking head. I wouldn't have anything hanging off my body. Well, I mean, except the one thing, but. All right, final super chats. Shut the fuck up. Fuck that tree. That's our anthem. Fuck that tree is our anthem here on this channel. That was from Uffman Entertainment. Blue Jays had a no-hitter against our Mets into the 9th inning, and then the Mets bats woke up and they won 6-2 on my birthday. Let's go Mets. For Grimace. Yeah, the Mets were being no-hit all the way to the 9th inning, and they pulled it out and they won the game. There's something going on. Something going on with these Mets. Hey, Rican Son, shout out to Rican Son, who has been a channel member, FYI, for 34 months. He's going to his 10-year-old high school, or 10-year. I read that wrong. His 10-year high school reunion this Saturday in Minnesota. Crazy how fast time flies. Wow. 10-year high school reunion, huh? Yeah, that is pretty crazy. This year was actually 20, would have been my 20-year college reunion. How about that? I didn't go, but it is crazy how quickly time goes by, isn't it? Amazing. I smoke a lot of weed with the $9.99. Suggestion for Tag Team Be the Booker and... Wait. Tag Team Be the Booker. Land on make shift team. When you land here, you pick 2 wrestlers from the singles wrestlers and create your makeshift team to take on a tag team in Be the Booker. You know, that's actually a very clever idea. That is not a bad idea. I will consider that. I will write that down. That is actually a very clever idea. I will consider it. Thank you, brother. Rizzo with the 5. Like you, Solo, I've given up asking about Wardlow, but where has Cole been? Was he hurt worse than they thought? Oh, he was hurt badly. I mean, he broke his ankle, I think, in multiple places. He had more than one surgery. I mean, he really fucked himself up. So that's why he's been out for so long. I mean, it's been a year. It was a year ago at Grand Slam this month when MJF wrestled Samoa Joe. That was the night. So he's been out for 12 months. It's a long time. It was a very serious injury, and he's still not back yet. I don't know that we're going to see him in the ring again this year. He may go all 2024 without wrestling a match. That's how bad the injury was. And David Thiering, that super chat, Holla Goat against Brain, I thought was a Demeter Bullion super chat for a second. Demeter's super chats are goated in nonsense. I mean, but just like, again, if you read that, you're not going to recognize what it is right away. Holla Goat and Brain. I mean, it's like, cut me some slack here. How am I supposed to know what that is? And the Juliet. Breaking news. Kurt Angle to appear at GCW on November 23rd. Well, I mean, maybe he'll be commissioner for a night or something. Hopefully he's not doing anything physical. It's GCW. I mean, my God. Someone's got to protect Kurt. Put him in like bubble wrap or something. Kurt Angle at a GCW show? I mean, that's a little scary. Yeah, Daddy Ugarte, it's true. The last Grand Slam, and that really derailed their biggest storyline. It really fucked everything up. It really did. Screwed up the Undisputed Kingdom. Hey, RDS Harry, what's going on, man? Says, do I think Osprey or Okada will end up world champions sometime next year? Says, me personally, I think Okada will be world champion before Osprey. I'm gonna say before Osprey. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say Osprey becomes champion first. Boots with the 5. If I fall asleep during the live stream and at 6 a.m. YouTube shows one person viewing the stream, does it mess up anything on your end? No. No. Doesn't mess anything up on my end. Have at it. You might wake up and just be very confused, though, when you wake up, but it's all good. Bash just noticed now, after how long have we been here? 2 hours, that Bryan Danielson is in gray in the layout. Yes, because he was executed out of the Blackpool Combat Club. So that's why Claudio and Moxley are colorized and Danielson is in black and white. Are you the first person who noticed that tonight? I did that on purpose. Thank you guys for all the questions. Some good stuff tonight, good support. Love to see it. Bring that with you on Friday because it's going to be a big SmackDown. First SmackDown back on USA Network. They're off of Fox, back on USA. On Friday night, we have Cody Rhodes defending the WWE title in a steel cage match against Solo Sikoa. And I'm expecting the return of one Roman Reigns on that show. Will anybody turn against Cody? Are they going to shoot another big angle with Cody? Also, we talked about the possibility on TNT last night that maybe at Bad Blood, what we're looking at could potentially be a tag team match. Maybe Cody and Roman Reigns on the same side up against Solo and Jacob Fatu. That's a possibility as well. But I'm expecting a big show, maybe a big angle to go down on Friday night. I will be live with the post show as soon as SmackDown is over. Apparently, Fire Panda thought the same thing regarding Danielson being in gray. Yeah, well, that's the other thing about Friday. It is Friday the 13th. I almost forgot about that. That's right. Friday the 13th. SmackDown. Those are always fun. I'll have to have some fun then with the artwork for that. It'll get my creative juices flowing here. Oz and Glorious need a 60-minute Takeshita Okada barn burner. Hey, I don't care if it's 60 minutes, 30 minutes, 25 minutes. I just want Takeshita and Okada in a singles match, one-on-one. I don't care how long it is. Just give it to me. And I'll be happy. I need to get right in the right mood for the Friday. What mood would that be? Is that the same mood that Tony Khan is in that image there with Okada? I don't want to get in that mood. No, thank you. Oh, I'm actually, that reminds me. I'll let you know my thoughts on Beetlejuice. I'm seeing it tomorrow. I'm seeing Beetlejuice Part 2 tomorrow. So I'll let you know my thoughts, my spoiler-free thoughts after I see the movie. I'm looking forward to it, man. Beetlejuice was a big part of my childhood. And here we are now 30-something years later, and they're finally giving us Part 2. Hopefully it's worth it. Looking forward to that. Am I going to Grand Slam? No, I will be here. I'll be live that night. As soon as Grand Slam is over, I'll be on the channel. I will not be at Grand Slam itself. And Boots says, JD woke me up during one of his rants. See, I go the opposite way. I have people sometimes who will message me and go, you know, either them or their girlfriend or their wife, they'll hear the podcast. Maybe their significant other is playing it. And apparently it does help some people fall asleep at night. Apparently they said, oh, something with your voice. And I go, so basically what you're saying is I put you to sleep. And they're like, well, we don't mean it that way. I go, no, you kind of do. But that's okay. That's all right. Whatever works for you. As long as you're listening to the shows, that's all that matters. Be well. Stay safe. Come on back on Friday night for the SmackDown recap and hit that like button on your way out. Until Friday night, I'll see you guys then.